Hey guys, this is Alan from Quincrete Tropicals, and today I'm going to show you how to propagate a day palm. So I've had this one right here sitting in this container for a few years now. It's completely root bound. I'm going to plant it in the ground, but I'm going to show you how to plant it another time. Right now I'm going to show you how to propagate it. So usually when propagating day palms, you want to propagate them off the shoots that are coming from the main trunk, like this one right here. Usually you want to wait until they're about a foot long or so, like this one right here, and then you can go ahead and cut them off. I don't know if you ever propagated bananas before, or maybe Berry of Paradise plants. It's pretty much the same process. So what you want to do, you want to cut this pointing towards the mother plant. You want to get some roots in there, and then what we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and put this in a container and let it grow some roots. Ideally, you want to propagate day palms, or most palm trees that actually have offshoots, during the growing season. Right now is November. Growing season here is over. Growing season here is usually when the night temperatures are hot, and the night temperatures are cold right now. So what's going to happen is I'm going to put this in a fast raining potting mix, and I'm going to keep it dry because it's not going to grow right now, and you're just going to wait for the warmer night temperatures to grow. But right now I'm going to show you how to propagate them. So the first thing you need to do, you need to have a day palm that has shoots on the side, and make sure the shoots are actually at least about a foot tall. And the reason you want to wait until they're that tall is because by then they're gonna have some roots in there that are gonna be able to support the plant itself. Alright, so the first thing I gotta do, I'm gonna take this out of the container, and since this container of this plant right here is fully root bound, I'm not gonna pull it out of there, it's just too complicated. What I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna cut the container, and then we're gonna go ahead and get started. So let me do that right now. So usually when cutting a container, the easiest way to do this is just get your utility knife, and then just make a cut on the side going all the way up, just like this, and then you want to make another cut on the opposite side. Let me turn this around, and you can see the plant was actually pushing against the container and trying to pretty much root itself in the ground because it was so root bound. So let me go ahead and make the cut right here. Alright, so I got that side over there, and I got this side. Let me see, let me go ahead and take this out of the container. Alright, so that's out of there now. So the next thing you're gonna do, you can do this in a few ways. The first way is gonna be, you can use a shovel that has a sharp end, and you can stick it right here in the middle and pretty much cut between the shoot and the main plant in an angle going towards the main trunk right here. That's using a shovel. So I don't have one right now. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna use a saw, and I'm gonna saw it off right there. So let me go in the back and then go ahead and do that right now. So I think I'm through, probably about a quarter of the way down. Alright guys, it's all done. As you can see, I got a lot of roots on this shoot right here. And that's the main reason why you want to wait until the shoots are at least a foot tall, because by then you know for sure it develop a good root system that's going to support the plant once you pot it into a different container or you plant it in the ground. Ideally, what I like to do is once you get the shoots off, you want to pot them in a container and let them grow for about a year. So that way they can fully root themselves out, and then once they're fully rooted in the ground, you can go ahead and then, fully rooted in the container, then you can go ahead and plant it in the ground. So this one right here is the one we're going to put in the ground. This one, we're just going to go ahead and put in a container. So let me go ahead and do that right now. So I'll be right back. Alright guys, so we're ready to pot it in a container now. As you can see, the bottom is completely root bound. Those roots are never going to grow out of there. If you watch one of my previous videos where I explain how to fix a root bound tree, I'm pretty much going to do the same thing here, even though I already chopped like over 50% of the root ball here. So I'm just going to go ahead and trim the bottom off real quick. I'm going to trim the sides so that way it will fit in this container right here. This is a 15 gallon. The size of the container is irrelevant. You can use a 10 gallon, you can use a 25 gallon. As long as the container is big enough to support the root system of your plant, you're good to go. When potting your plant, you don't want to go too big. You don't want to go too small either. You want to go just a few inches wider, a few inches deeper, so that way the plant will have a better chance of rooting out that container a lot faster. You don't want to put it in a huge container, because remember, the bottom of your container dries mainly through the root system of your plant. So if you get a massive container and you pot this into a huge container, especially right now for me, winter coming, that bottom of that container will never dry, and it will probably rot before it even starts growing roots next season when the night temperatures warm up. So let me go ahead and prune this off real quick, and then we'll go ahead and pot it. So now that I have the bottom off, I'm going to go ahead and do the sides so that way it fits in that container just fine. Alright guys, so this is ready to go. So the next thing I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna put some potting mix in that container, and then I'm gonna just simply outpot this day palm in that container. So this is our potting mix that we use here. This is not dirt. This is mainly pine bark, perlite, and a little bit of peat moss in here. And we like to use this potting mix because it drains water well, allows a lot of the air to get through in there, so it doesn't stay wet as long as other potting mixes. And we have been using it for the past few years on thousands of plants, and we haven't had any issues at all. Alright, so I think I'm just gonna keep it right there. Alright, so let me go ahead and compact the potting mix around the root ball, so that way I don't have any air gaps inside it. And there it is. Now, before you're done, you have to remember, anytime you cut the root system of any plant, whether it's because root bound or you're root pruning to repot it into the same container, you always have to prune back the canopy. How much? Usually what I like to do is to go at least 50%. And the reason why is because the root system supporting that canopy is no longer there. So you want to minimize stress, so that way the plant doesn't have to put out that much energy to support this canopy right here. You can see it's not as big anyway. I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna cut it right here, and that's gonna minimize stress. It's gonna give the plant a better chance to actually pull all that energy into the root system. As long as you cut it back somewhat, it's better than nothing. So just eyeball it, 50%. You don't have to go lower than that. Anytime that you're actually transplanting trees that have been rooted in the ground for a little while, you also want to prune the canopy to minimize stress and give your plant a better chance of survivability. There we go. So this is ready to go now. Now, how long is it going to take for this plant to root in the container? If it was growing season right now, I would say about by the end of the growing season, which is usually about 6 months, it should be somewhat rooted in there. But winter is coming for me next month. It's November right now. So most plants don't grow when the night temperatures are cold. I'm in Arizona and our day temperatures are always hot, even during the winter. But just because day temperatures are hot, it doesn't mean your plants are going to grow. Night temperatures are a lot more important than day temperatures. So this plant is just going to sit here probably until around late March to April next year. Once the night temperatures warm up a little bit, it's going to start growing roots. Until then, it's just gonna sit in here. So what I'm gonna do next, I'm gonna water this lightly. I don't wanna soak the whole container. And the main reason why is because any areas where there are no roots in there, the water is just not gonna go anywhere. It's just gonna sit there. And there's hardly any evaporation going on right now because our temperatures are a lot cooler. So I wanna give it just enough water to keep that moist just a little bit, but not soak it completely because it's gonna take way too long for that to dry in between watering. We don't want that, especially during the winter when that is gonna take a lot longer to dry. So I'm gonna give it a little bit of water, let it dry, see how long that takes. I've been using the spotting mix for a few years now, so it's probably gonna take, I would say, maybe 3 to 4 days to dry in the middle of winter. And then I'm gonna give it a little bit of water then. I'm never gonna soak this up completely during the winter. Now, if this was the middle of summer and you're just doing this, you wanna make sure to shade this whole area, especially if you have extreme temperatures during the summer. We get over 100 degrees here for months on end. So direct sun on this is gonna scorch it and it's gonna probably kill your plant because your plant right now is not as strong as it was 5 minutes ago when it was attached to the mother plant. So you wanna give this a better chance of survival by just shading it. By shading the actual trunk, it's gonna allow the plant to heal a lot better. It's gonna minimize water usage. So especially during the summer. If you're anywhere else in the US where your temperatures are a lot colder, you probably don't need shade. Just put this to the side, water when dry, and give it about a year for it to grow roots completely in that container. And then you can put it in the ground. Now, can you put it in the ground right now without potting it? Yes, you can. But you have to remember, in the ground, you're not gonna be able to move the plant. And it's just a lot easier to allow your plant to grow roots in the container and then plant it in the ground than just to put it in the ground directly. It's just your chances of actually being successful are gonna be a lot better if you just let it grow roots in the container, because in the container you can move it around, you can check the water a lot better, and you can just, you know, pay attention to it a lot better. So let's say it was the middle of summer. The next thing you're gonna do, you wanna find some shade cloth. You can use burlap, you can use anything that's gonna shade your plant, but you have to make sure that it allows the actual water through it, because you don't want it to stay wet, especially if it rains. You want it to dry out. So the first thing you're gonna do, you're just gonna wrap it just like this, and then you want to go ahead and tie it in place. You can clip it in place, you can tie, you can do whatever you want, to be honest. Whatever technique you want to use is not really important, as long as it keeps the shade cloth in place. So tie that up and you're done, guys. This is ready to go. Now remember, this is going to take at least 1 year to grow roots in that container. This is the main reason why potted day palms are a lot more expensive than freshly cut shoots. I'm sure you've been online and you see people selling day palms everywhere, and they're just cutting off the plants and they're selling it to you a lot cheaper than if you went to a nursery that actually has potted day palms fully rooted in the container. The reason they're selling it a lot cheaper, for one, is they don't want to put the work and they don't want to wait for that plant to fully root itself in that container. So those people would rather sell it a lot faster and then make their quick money, and then they just don't care about the plants. Some of them do, but most of them don't. And remember, if you put it in the ground, your chances of making it are gonna be a lot less than if you actually put it in a container, let it root out, so that way you can take care of the plant. It's just not as optimal as potting it. If you're gonna put it in the ground, you can follow the same directions. Cut the canopy off about 50%. You wanna shade it. You don't wanna keep it wet. You wanna let it dry in between watering. And you're gonna have to give it a lot longer in the ground than you will in the container. In the containers, once this day palm is fully rooted in the container completely, it's gonna start growing very quickly. In the ground, if you look at the ground, it's like a bigger container. And your plant is not gonna actually start growing until it's fully rooted in the container. which is the ground. It's going to take a lot longer for your plant to grow. Now, will it root better in the ground? Yes, it will. But it's just going to take much longer. And in that time, you're going to have to worry about the sun, you're going to have to worry about the rain, you're going to have to worry about the winter, you're going to have to worry about critters eating the root system of your plant. A lot of things can go wrong in the ground. So I always recommend pot it, let it grow roots, and then plant it in the ground. So if you have a day palm and you have offshoots and you want to propagate your day palm, this is one way you can do it. There are several ways of doing it, but the idea is the same. Cut it off, get some roots in that shoot, and then take care of it until it grows roots in its new container and put it in the ground. Or if you're a nursery or somebody selling day palms or just propagating more, just keep doing that forever and you'll have unlimited amounts of day palms. If you have any questions, guys, let me know. Comment below, and then I'll see you next time.